Hey guys, I'm waiting for the picture. There we go. So, welcome to this live stream. So, my goal today is to talk a bit about Ryan's deployment and how I kind of worked through the last 9 months, and just to kind of talk through that a bit, as well as how we can celebrate Holy Week. I want to talk about your plans with Holy Week and my plans with Holy Week, and find out what your guys' parishes are doing, and just kind of go from there. So right now I see there's 4 people here. I know this is kind of last minute. I tend to just randomly get a desire to do a live video. So here we are. I hope the picture's okay. It looks kind of blurry, but we're just going to go with it. I am plugged in this time, so I shouldn't lose internet. So tell me who's here. And before I forget, the first thing I want to say is that Catholic Family Crate. Let's see. Catholic Family Crate. I think that's what it's called. I'm going to write it down. They are offering a free Holy Week resource right now for families. And so you can print it out, and it has from Palm Sunday all the way through to Easter Sunday, and what you can do, resources with the kids. There's a lot of coloring pages. There's a word search. There's like a handwriting page. So, hey, Haley. So that's one thing that you can do with your family if you have kids for Holy Week, is to use that resource that they're making free right now. All right, so I think I'll just jump into talking a bit about what the last 9 months have looked like, and then if people have questions, then you can just let me know if there's something specific that you want to talk about. Or hey, it's Caroline, right? The Narrow Gate. So yeah, so I thought about hi, Thomas. I plan on putting this information into a more formal sit-down video, but I thought I would just, since it's so fresh in my mind, I thought I would just sit down and talk a bit about it now. And hi, A Life Blessed. What's your first name? I probably should know that actually, because I think, anyway. So yeah. So hi, Asia Peach. Oh, now everybody's popping in. Hi, Renee. Okay. So yeah, so Ryan left for Korea, I think it was July 6th or July 8th. It was way back when, right? And man, I really wanted to share the journey with you guys. I really, really did. And I actually had planned on doing it. Okay, Kathy, okay. And I had really planned on walking you through the 9 months with me and being a bit more transparent about it. And then of course we had just done that video on the transgender story time, predator kind of stuff having to do with kids, and it developed in such a way that it didn't seem like it was safe to be hey, I'm by myself at home, because people got really mad. Hi, Anto. Is it Anto or Anto? Probably Anto, huh? And so yeah, so I kept it a secret. So hi, Life for Life. Thank you. So anyway, so he left, and we were able to talk almost every day while he was gone, but it was a 14-hour difference. Thank you. Is it Johan? Probably is with that. Oh, you want to call you Erickson? Okay. Hi, Caesar. Hi, Thomas. So what was I going to say? I don't know what video you're talking about, saying that was a great video, Laura. So what am I trying to say? Anyway, 14-hour difference. So I would talk to him so my early morning, so 7 a.m. here was 9 p.m. there. And usually by 9 p.m. he was pretty much done for the day. So I would have to get between 6 and 7 in order to talk to him in his nighttime. It was just a brief 5-minute talk. And then he would call me in the morning after PT again for about 5 minutes, just to sit in the evening. So my 6 p.m., depending on where it was on time frame. And we would talk for about 5 minutes. And I think over the course of 9 months, we had maybe 6 decent conversations. Otherwise, it really was a little bit of texting and just a lot of just not communicating, honestly. And so it was our second deployment, so I kind of knew what to expect. My kids are older. So it really went well, but I mean, it was just God just had to carry me. I was like, I can't do this on my own. The first time he went away, I was really into Protestant resources because I hadn't really had my reversion yet. So I was listening to like Protestant podcasts. I was listening to Protestant music, and I was also really, really big into I was also really big in the Beachbody and was like doing that probably to an extent I shouldn't have. And then this time, at first, I thought I was going to be more focused on like becoming like a better homemaker. And I did do that at the end, but really it developed more into daily mass and almost always I was being a religious ed teacher, daily mass. I was asked to run the book club locally. And so I just kind of got poured into, and then of course YouTube. And so I just got really poured into developing like virtue and working through all the ways that our church gives us to kind of lean on God. So it was really a beautiful experience, but I'm so happy he's home. Okay, I see there's some conversations, so I'm going to look over here and see what's going on. If you guys have any questions for me. So let's see, my plan for Easter. We are my church just put out their schedule. And so we do daily mass with our church every day at 7:30 a.m. And it's a great way to wake up. It's actually better than coffee, like waking up, knowing that I get to like sit on my couch and like hang out with my priest while he and then we kneel for the consecration and things. But of course, daily mass for real would be way better. But it's a pretty gentle, like intermittent experience that we get to have with having kids and things. And so that happens tomorrow. And then Holy Thursday and Holy Friday, we are going to do mass on a live stream, of course, as well. Or Friday won't be mass, but at 7 p.m. with our church. And then we're going to do Easter Vigil, I think, because it's 8:30 p.m. And I'm not sure what my father has planned, but it's so awesome. Like, he's doing so many cool things right now. I think that this quarantine is such an interesting, it's definitely like a chastisement. I really do think that like there's like, I think what Father Mark said about it being a chastisement is really legit, but there's so much beauty that's coming out of priests that are having to kind of find other ways to shepherd their people. And I'm just really curious about how, once we all come back together, what that's going to look like. So I'm excited. I think God's doing of course, God is all good. So anything that's happening is going to have some kind of beautiful outcome. How is Caesar asks, how's quarantine life? It's fine. It's good. I mean, my husband's home now, so I'm very happy about that. And yeah, we've just been working our rule. I did a video on like my daily schedule, and we've been pretty much keeping to it. Right now it's quiet time, and just taking walks when I can handle it, and when my allergies aren't too bad, and just, I don't know, living life. There's such good things. Have you guys seen The Chosen? The Chosen is so good, and you just fall in love with Jesus. And so there's an app, I'm going to type it in, but there's an app that you download, and then you can stream it to your TV. And from what I hear, the director is working with a priest, a rabbi, and a Protestant, which he's Protestant, to kind of flesh out the show so that it appeals and it doesn't like turn one group completely away. I haven't watched the episode on Mary. I think that's the one we're going to watch today. So we'll see how she's addressed, because obviously that's kind of a sticking point. But it makes you fall in love with Jesus. So we've been doing that for sure. Okay, let's see. When I do mass online, so on Sundays we dress up, but when we do our daily mass, typically we wake up and we immediately get dressed in our house. But like this morning, I just could not get my eyes to wake up. And so I was in like my pajamas, and I sit on my couch and like drink my tea for the majority of mass. And when he starts, and it's so awesome because he's using Latin right now. And so he starts the Sanctus, I will stand and put aside whatever I'm doing. And then we kneel for the consecration. We actually stay kneeling for our Father, as well as the Agnus Dei, because there's no peace be with you, so there's no real reason to stand. And then we will adore Jesus when he says, behold the Lamb of God. We will have adoration. And then we say a spiritual communion, still on our knees. And then at that point, we go back and sit down or whatever. So, but we do dress up on Sundays. And for sure, so Easter Vigil, I haven't talked to Ryan about this yet, but I think we're going to do Easter Vigil. So it's 8:30. So we'll get dressed for Easter probably a bit early so we can take some photos, but we'll probably get dressed up Easter Day too. I can't imagine wearing jeans on Easter Day. I don't wear jeans much anyway. I'm not wearing jeans today, but we'll probably wear the same thing we wore that night to attend Mass. And I think that attending Mass live is really, really valuable, you guys, because you're participating in the Mass spiritually, even if you're not physically present. And so when you watch a replay, which is still beautiful as well, you're not at that moment of consecration truly present, right? Whereas if you watch a live Mass and they're saying, take this, all of you, and eat it, for this is my body, which has been given up for you. And then the bells ring, in that moment that that host is being consecrated and Jesus Christ, body, blood, soul, and divinity is coming down to meet. And so it's just, there's nothing like it. And so so just try to catch a live Mass. There's so many available. I also plan, someone's mentioning, I think some movies here. So I want to watch, I don't know if it's Christ the King. Let me know, you guys. It's the black and white Catholic video. And not Catholic video, I'm sorry. It's the life and death of Jesus, but it's black and white. And I think that's the one. I watched it last year and I thought it was really well done. I also want to say something about Good Friday that I want to that my priest mentioned in his talk recently. And that is that even though on Palm Sunday we read the Passion, and I think we read it, was it from Matthew this year? But on Good Friday, they always read it from St. John. And think about it. St. John is the only apostle besides Mother Mary that was at the foot of the cross. I mean, Mother Mary's not an apostle, but you know what I'm saying? He was only the one of the 12 at the bottom of the cross. And so when he's writing the account of the Passion, it's his first person narrative. And so don't not attend a Good Friday Mass. It's not Mass, but service, just because you're like, well, I just heard that same Passion. This is St. John. This is going to be different than the other ones. So I thought that was a really awesome point that he made. I was going somewhere with that. Oh yeah, let me know if you know what movie I'm talking about. We don't do a Seder meal, and actually I heard recently that it's like sacrilege, and that maybe it wasn't sacrilege. Someone put up something about how we are not to perform like traditional Jewish Passover things because Jesus is our new Passover. He's the new Paschal Lamb. Easter is the new Passover meal. We have our own Pentecost. And so we don't want to celebrate like the Jewish traditions because Jesus has fulfilled those. The reason of the Seder is fulfilled, and we don't do the Seder anymore. We have Easter Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Renee, it's awesome that you watched The Chosen also. It's so good. I don't think the virus is a sign of the end times. I mean, you can read the Bible and there's plenty of, Mary has said, and the Bible, Jesus has said clearly that lots of things are going to happen at the end times, but I don't even begin to assume that I'm going to be able to tell when the end time is. Until Jesus comes on the cloud with all his angels, from the sky, then I'm just going to assume, but I don't know. Yeah, my husband was, he wasn't raised necessarily, well, his mom and dad were brought up Catholic, but neither of them were practicing. And his mom took him to the Catholic Church a few times, but never got him his sacraments. And so when I met him, it wasn't like he was very open. It didn't take much for him to like come into this belief in God and things like that. Wasn't a hard sell. It just wasn't something he was raised with, but he had family that was Catholic. He was aware of Catholicism. So it wasn't like this really huge shift. But yeah, I was very, very open. I was, what was I, 17 when I met him. And I was like, hey, I'm pro-life, I'm Catholic. And if we get married, you have to raise your kids Catholic, and we have to have a sacramental marriage. And I mean, pretty much first, second date, I think I said all that stuff because I was a young kid and I was like, I knew what I wanted. And I knew what my non-negotiables were. And so he just kind of was like, okay. And then eventually he became Catholic before we got married. Let's see. Oh, that would be really cool. Yeah, the Resurrection. Now that's a movie I'd watch. I haven't seen The Passion. I just don't think I can handle it. I know people watch it and they love it. Yeah, Elvia, I would definitely check out The Chosen. The first episode is all about Mary Magdalene, and you don't see Jesus till the end. And by the time you see him, you're just yearning for him. It's amazing how emotive and how people say it has all the feels. I guess that's like a thing now, but it is so emotive. And like my whole family is just like, when can we watch another one? And the guy who made the show says, binge Jesus. And I am not joking. You want to just binge Jesus. And so I do hope that we can donate to the show because it's all crowdfunded and they need like $8 million more to produce the second season. And so if you do watch it and you're really inspired, even if we all gave $20, obviously that would fund it. Like that's the crazy thing about crowdfunding is you're like, oh, my $1 or $2 doesn't matter, but it really does. Like, and I don't want to get into like Patreon and stuff, but I just think that it's crowdfunding is just not something to be your dollars do count every time you give a charity, no matter if you give $1 or 10 or 100, like it counts. Let's see. What else are we doing here? You guys are talking about Seder. Oh, that was Dr. Taylor Marshall. Thank you. Okay, Haley. She was saying that Dr. Taylor Marshall was the one talking about the Seder meal is sinful. Yeah, because I just saw that recently come up in my like YouTube feed, and so I was like curious to hear about that. But okay, so yesterday on his show, so Dr. Taylor Marshall, if you search him, it sounds like he just talked about how a Seder meal is sinful. I'm like way behind on this chat, you guys. I know. Right, and you're talking about Google accounts talking about the old rites are dead, and that's true. And the Seder meal would be like the Jewish Passover meal, which they're still celebrating, like the lamb, and the death passing over their houses. And Jesus died once for all, and we don't need to continually, slaughter the lamb anymore. But we represent it every mass. So, okay, cool. Let's see. Coronavirus not end. More to come. I definitely think so. You guys, if you watched my talk on divine providence, I just think that everything happens for a reason. And I think the coronavirus definitely is doing a lot of things in this world. And yes, it is hurting some people. And yes, it's ending some people's lives. However, what saint is it? That saint that's in that Trustful Surrender book I talk about. When I have the giveaway winners. So I will mention that at the end. There's 5 giveaway winners. And I'm not sure if anyone's on here. That's that one. But what was I gonna say? I don't know. And here comes some kid.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, I'm live right now. Can you talk to Daddy about it?
Can I go on my iPad? I built a Lego thing.
Yes.
I have it open.
Yes. Close the door, please.
Oops.
So anyway, so many good things are happening though, as well. So, and when it is our time to go, it is our time to go. Yes. Was it Leda? Is it Leda or Lydia? Mentioned how many of us want our husbands to have a better relationship with the Lord than we do. Like we want our husbands to be the spiritual leaders of our family. And she's talking about and how the Lord heard us. So I mentioned in the last video that you can use this ancient Saint Joseph, not last video, a few videos ago, The ancient Saint Joseph prayer can be used as a novena, and you can pray it for 9 days, and you can ask people, ask Saint Joseph to intercede to Jesus for you, to have your husband be the spiritual head of your household. And so, and Saint Joseph will hear you, and he will answer you, because especially with husbands. So that's wonderful. So is it Lydia? Do you have you had a conversion story or just a deepening story? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Actually, I bought the Passion last year, so it's kind of interesting. So Ryan wanted to watch it again, and so we bought it on iTunes. And I went to Easter Vigil because I was sponsoring somebody, and so I came home like, Alleluia, the Lord is risen. And I was so happy. And he had just watched the Passion, and he hadn't been to Easter Mass yet, and so he was in a very different place. And yes, so. Yeah. So anyway, we own it. I'm tempted to push play and just skip over some of the more graphic parts. I just don't feel like I need to. What's the movie I Still Believe? I'll write this down. I got Haley, will you make a list of all the movie recommendations you see, and I can put them in the description. Oh, thank you. My son's cute. Yeah. Paul the Apostle is really good. And don't you love at the end where they're like having the Eucharist? You know, they're like participating in the Eucharist, just like all the other people. Hi, Gretchen. Yeah, Anto, I don't really want to talk about Lilith right now, but yes, I know about that demon. Oh, that's beautiful. You did a 30-day novena. So Google count, is that a different, like what novena was that for 30 days? I don't think I've ever heard of a 30-day novena. That's interesting. Or did you just do that ancient Saint Joseph prayer like for 30 days versus 9? Oh, thank you. About the picture, that's from the Catholic company. So you can just grab that. And it actually says on the top, it says, Hail Mary, full of grace. And I have a Saint Joseph one over there that I need to hang up. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's so exciting, Ruben. You were consecrated on March 19th to Saint Joseph. So I'm so excited because Ryan and I are starting Saturday. And get this, you guys, Our Lady of Fatima was a huge, huge part of our family like conversion in 2017. We started kind of slowly dipping our feet into like what Catholicism really means that year. And it all had to do with Our Lady of Fatima. And so she's absolutely my favorite. And so we are going to consecrate ourselves to St. Joseph on the feast day of May 13th. I'm so excited. But Ruben, that is awesome. Haley, I've only seen like three movie recommendations. So if there's a bunch more, I mean, I can scroll back and do it too, but let me know. Hey, Andy, the movie I Still Believe. Okay. So I wrote it down. I Still Believe. And then the Holy Cloak. Is that the one about this? Was it the centurion that it's like an old one, right? And I've watched all the old ones because my, oh, never mind. I thought we were talking about like movies. Okay. So the Holy Cloak, okay, is the novena. Cool. I'm going to write this down. You guys have such awesome knowledge, and I always learn so much from you when we do these live streams. I just love hanging out and talking with you guys. Right. Who said that? Renee. Yes. I think that you're right, that while this could be a chastisement, that the coronavirus could be a chastisement, it's not a chastisement for us to point to other people's sins. Okay, we don't need to point to the Pope. We don't need to point to bishops or certain bishops or cardinals or whatever, or even your neighbor down the street. This is a time for us to look within ourselves and say, how can we make reparations? How can we become saints? How can we do better? Where are we failing? Where is vice taking hold in our life? Where are we not gaining in virtue? And the thing that's really interesting is you can ask Our Lady of Sorrows to point out what vice you need to work on, where your sins are. Excuse me. And the thing is that a lot of times they're not the sins that you think you need to work on, because the sins that you are cognizant of are the sins that you are working on, right? If I know that I lose my temper, I'm going to work on that, right? Like I'm going to be like, I don't like this about me, and I'm going to work on it. But maybe I'm judgmental and don't know it. And if I pray to Our Lady of Sorrows and ask her, show me, and you can also ask your guardian angel the same thing, then it might be something you didn't even know. But that's what this time of Lent has been about, and that's what Holy Week can be about, and that's what this chastisement can be about, is people are really forced to look at themselves right now because there's not a lot of distractions. And I think that's where some of this chastisement's coming in as well. And kind of think through, like, what are you missing about Mass? What are you missing about practicing your faith? Is it what you expected? Like, are you missing adoration more than you're missing the liturgy, or are you missing the fellowship? I mean, it's an interesting time that we should always be doing this kind of reflection, but we don't because we get so distracted. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I still believe it's a hard one to watch. Yeah, I'm not, I tend to not watch movies if someone tells me I'm going to cry, but I will put it on my list. You're not going to ever have life without stresses. That is just not going to happen. You just have to, that's the whole point of the crucifix, you guys, is that we know that we're going to suffer. Anto, that is that about Lilith, that's just one of those stories. It's not necessarily true. I mean, it could be true, but that's one of those, someone made up a fictional story about her, and that was the dialogue, and it was like, could she be redeemed? I can't remember. In the Anti-Mirror Exposed, it talks about the story you're talking about. I am so excited about that movie, Fatima. Thank you for reminding me. I have 13th Day, and that's the movie we first watched. You can watch 13th Day on YouTube in pieces. At least you could in 2017. And my daughter was 7 at the time, and she asked for that for Christmas. And then I showed my 6th graders, and some of them got freaked out. I'm like, my 7-year-old asked for this movie. But I know we shouldn't be talking about demons lightly. Ever. That's a good point, Haley. We can also do a St. Michael prayer. And then Stephanie at Armor of God talked about a unity prayer, which we all should be praying beforehand. That keeps the devil from messing with us when we talk about things. Wow, 11 years, Elvia. So she's saying they've been working on that movie Fatima for 11 years. I am so excited that it's going to like the main theaters, because man, our country, our world needs God. And it's like the Catholics that are in it and are living it, like we get it. And then you look at the rest of the world and you're like, how can you not get this? But it's just the way it is. Oh, Renee, you did your concentration too on March 19th. That's beautiful. Okay, let's see. St. Michael the Archangel. Yeah, the St. Michael the Archangel prayer. Every priest should be praying that at the end of Mass, at every Mass. So if your priest is not praying the St. Michael the Archangel prayer at the end of your Mass, you should probably mention to him that that's something that every church should be doing. Yes. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I can't wait either, MR. Let's see here. You're putting the prayer up. That's awesome. Oh, August 14th. Okay. So Ruben's saying that Fatima is going to be postponed until August 14th. So then hopefully we can all go see it. I can't remember how I found out about yoga. I think well, that's not true. One day, so Anton asked about, Anto or Erickson, asked about the, about stopping yoga. And so I've always said it is easier to just fully align yourself with the church than it is to be a cafeteria Catholic. But I was a cafeteria Catholic for a long time, and habits die hard. And so one of the last things that I fought the church on was yoga. And the church doesn't have a specific statement. And sometimes priests will say it's okay. Other priests will say no. So I had gotten to the point where I wasn't saying namaste anymore. And I wasn't like doing any of the chakra, stuff, which I hadn't done for a long time, but I was still using it as exercise. I was still going through sun salutation flows and things like that because it felt really good. It was like an awesome workout. My body loved it and got me results. It was great. But again, a lot of father of lies. So I heard a priest on Catholic radio one day, first I had, I think it was on Jeanette Williams' show. And it was like there was this book called it's not The Mindful Catholic. I think it's called Mindfulness for Catholics. And it talks about yoga in there, I've heard. It's like a black book with, I think I'll put it down below, Mindfulness for Catholics. If you guys want to read something about, I haven't read it yet. It's on my to-buy list, but I have so many books. So they mentioned that, and they mentioned yoga being bad. And then a priest came on one time and he was like, hey, even if you think it's just stretching, even if you don't do all the things, it's still somebody else's religion. And he's like, how would you like it if someone took your rosary beads and just wore them like a necklace without any reverence to Mary? When we do yoga poses, even without the intention, we're kind of like throwing someone else's religion in their face. And it's disrespectful because it is somebody else's religion. And so, and I have heard Hindus say, you guys aren't practicing yoga. You have no idea what you're doing. It's not anything like the actual sacred practice. However, doors can be opened so innocently. It's not worth it. All right, here we go. Some point in our lives will be 3 days of darkness. Yes, I have heard that. I have not been to Lourdes. That would be amazing. Gretchen, they don't do that. Your St. Michael prayer at your church. I would really email your priest and ask him to start. So the St. Michael prayer, I think, started in the 1920s, or was it earlier, you guys? Just check. Or I guess I could check. I will look up the history of the St. Michael prayer. That might be a fun video. But I know that it was prayed at all masses for a very long time, specifically, I think based on this one priest, and then maybe it was a pope, and then it stopped. And now it's starting up again. Was it St. Pius or Pope Pius? Okay, thank you. You guys know so much more than I do, and it's awesome. Okay. Let's see what else we're talking about here. I am a cradle Catholic. Yes, I am. Go watch my testimony video and you'll get the whole story. Oh, because was it Pope Leo the 13th? Okay, Pope Leo the 13th made the prayer. And do you know what year that is? I'm like loving, if you guys, I don't know if any of you homeschool, but there is something called the Book of Centuries, and you can do this just as an adult. So it's called the Book of Centuries. And so you can just print out, you could even just make a notebook, like take a notebook and put like every century spanning 2 pages. And then as you come across history, you write in the main people and their dates. And so you can just like flip to like 1500s and you'll have all the saints and all the major events. And it just puts history in this really lovely timeline so that you can so that you remember like these main moments of history. 1890, thank you. This is great. I can just like have you guys tell me all the facts. And so anyway, it's called Book of Centuries, but it's very good. And we're listening to the TAN Story of Civilization right now. And it'll mention, major events and all those things. Okay, someone's asked me about Cafeteria Catholic, so I'll just mention this real fast. So Cafeteria Catholic is a Catholic that does not adhere to all the teachings of the church, whether it's birth control, abortion, birth control is the main one. Homosexuality teachings. What else? Just that. Like there's maybe they don't believe in the true presence, but they still partake in the Eucharist. Maybe they don't go to confession because they're like, I don't need to go to confession, even though one of the precepts of the church is you have to go to confession once a year, and you have to take communion during Easter season. Priests is women. Is that what you're talking about? So it's one of those things where, so a cafeteria Catholic will, like, it's like at a cafeteria, and you're picking and choosing the parts of Catholicism that you think make sense. So you call yourself a Catholic, but you're not saying, I just submit to everything. Like if the church says X, I believe X, hands down. There's always a why. So if you want to learn more about why you can't use birth control as a Catholic, then you need to go look into theology of the body. You need to go look into the proper point of marriage. Father Ripperger has an amazing video on just what marriage is. It's not just a covenant, it's contract. And producing children is one of the main parts of it. But there's always, or like abortion, obviously there's a lot of information out there about why conception, life begins at conception. That's science. And so, so I was raised by my parents who were cafeteria Catholics, and I love them both dearly. And, but they're just kind of picked and chose. Like they're Catholic, but we were not raised to adhere to all the teachings of the church. And so then I continue that until, well, it's been a journey. Right now, I think at this point in my life, I'm 100% aligned with church. I think I'm trying to think when that last sin, you know what I mean? It's like you just kind of hang on to things and you're like, and then finally you submit, and then you learn more and you submit again. At least that's been for me. But some people convert and they completely do a 180 and they take it all in. So that's what cafeteria Catholic is somebody who's Catholic in name and believes some things enough to not be a Protestant. But a lot of the times it's the moral teachings of the church where they have a hiccup, whether that's political or, like I said, like personal life stuff. Yeah, Haley, that's a really concise answer. A person who picks and chooses what they like about the church. I don't know Pope Pius is the 12th testimony about Virgin Mary. I'd have to look that up. Cool. Is that the actual crown of thorns? Renee, does Notre Dame actually have the real crown of thorns? Risen? Okay. Is that Catholic or it doesn't matter? That's a good one. I haven't heard of Risen. Yeah. 22 Vanilla Latte is talking about the like jewelry that looks kind of like a rosary but isn't. Okay, I think I'm caught up on the comments. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's an interesting Holy Week. Last year, I was able to go to Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and then I did Easter Vigil and Easter Day. It was beautiful. It was so intense and so beautiful. And had there not been a quarantine this week, I would have gone to daily mass every day. And I probably would have tried to go to confession again one more time, which I know my priest is offering confession, but I'm trying to stay home right now. That's really cool. I wonder what the story, does anyone know the story of the crown of thorns and how they were found? Like how they know it's like the legit crown of thorns. It'd be amazing to like go. Did you guys know you can take, like if you're ever exposed to a relic, that you can take items like a rosary and touch it to the relic? Haley, that's awesome. Well, you got everybody's attention. Yeah, if you guys have a question for me, put it in caps. That it really does stand out. Okay, so Risen's a 2016 film. I don't think I've seen that one. I like the black and white one because it does all the earthquakes and things. Yes, the Catholic Church really made the Bible. So what was I going to say? Yes, it was. Oh, it was a year ago to the date. The fire at Notre Dame. I was going to say something to you guys about something, and now it's gone. Oh, Renee, you got your feet washed last Holy Thursday. That's something that like I'm so like a lot of times I'll avoid Holy Thursday masks. I'm like, I don't want them to wash my feet. That's just too, but talk about being humbled, right? And that's exactly what the point is. Man, I had something I thought was so inspired, but I guess it wasn't. There you go, Hail Holy Queen. Yeah. So, the Old Testament was based on the Septuagint, which the story of the Septuagint, whether it's true or not, is just an amazing story about the 70 scribes and how they came out with the exact, I don't know. It was so cool. It's a cool story. The exact same translation, word to word. And so that's where the same Septuagint came in the Greek translation of the Bible. And then the books of the New Testament, again, they're all inspired Holy Scripture, and they were chosen in those first 100, 150 years after Jesus died. And the canon's been determined for a long time. And it wasn't until Martin Luther came around that anyone questioned the books. Chaplet of the Holy Wounds. No. Chaplet of the Holy Wounds. Cool. I'm gonna write that down. Chaplet. There's so many prayers out there, you guys. It's interesting because I feel like the Holy Spirit will expose each of us to the devotions that we need in our lives in order to get to wherever we're supposed to get and within our process of becoming a saint. And then when we are all listing it out, it can be overwhelming. It can be like, oh my gosh, there's so many prayers and so many devotions. How do I do this? And so if that is your feeling at all, just take a deep breath and realize that there are so many devotions out there and that the Holy Spirit will guide you, whether it's a conversation with another Catholic, whether it's something like this, where you're getting exposed to a bunch of different things, whether it's just a random YouTube search of devotions or you're on a Catholic website or a Catholic app looking through things. And your devotions that you're supposed to partake in this moment will come out to you, and you don't have to do everything just because someone else says, hey, this is an awesome devotion or this is an awesome chaplet. I think, yeah, so see, Caesar, I've said that all without even seeing your comment about all these things. Okay. So I'm getting a question. You have a Baptist friend that keeps bothering you. So I don't know, Smith, the name? So, but anyway, so if you look up a timeline on, oh, I love the Divine Mercy Chaplet. So on the, on Saturday, did you say? Oh, Holy Thursday. Because you guys know that the Sunday, so there's Easter Sunday, and then the next Sunday is Divine Mercy Sunday. And I do have a video. I don't know how good it is. It was way back when, a couple years ago, on Divine Mercy. It was back when I first kind of discovered it, so I have a lot of energy, and I'm really excited about it. So if you don't know much about Divine Mercy, that's a good video to watch. But it's not, I could probably say a lot more about it now. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Baptist. So anyway, Catholic Church, Jesus started Catholic Church. First Pope was Peter, unbroken line, okay? The apostles, every single apostle, every single priest has had a hand on his shoulder of another priest, of one of the apostles, and it's spread out, right? So we have apostolic succession. So a Baptist doesn't have any of that. There's no centralized magisterium. There's no pope. They're Protestant. So they're protesting the Catholic Church. So when the Reformation happened in the 1500s, Martin Luther had his issues. And once he had issues, Calvin's like, oh, wait, we can do this. So then Calvin started having issues, and then it spawned off. And I will see if I can find you guys there's a chart, and I'm going to see if I can put this down below. There's a chart of Catholic Church being the straight line, and then everybody else stemming off, even unfortunately the Orthodox and the 1051, I think it was. So yes. So I'll put that in, but and then there's a lot of doctrine, obviously. There's nowhere in the Bible does it say that Bible alone is the only thing. They deny tradition, but then all Protestants have tradition, because even if you become Baptist because your dad was Baptist, that's a tradition. And the sinner's prayer is not in the Bible, and I can go on, but yes, it is wrong to follow Bible alone, because if you think about it, the early church didn't even have a Bible. They had the Old Testament, but those books were still, there was Hebrew versions in the Septuagint, and so they weren't even, the early Jews weren't even agreeing on whether there's Hebrew or the Greek were like the sacred scripture, which is why the Protestants have less books, because the Catholic Church, the Christian Church, the early Christian Church decided to embrace all the Old Testament that was in the Septuagint, and then first to only adopt the Hebrew as sacred scripture. So you don't have like Maccabees, they don't have they don't have a lot of good books. They have Sirach, and they have some other things. But it's funny because Maccabees is the only place in the Bible where Hanukkah is mentioned, and yet they don't have Maccabees as sacred scripture. I think that's right. That's really funny if that's true. But anyway, some of the argument was that they did that on purpose because Maccabees like supports purgatory and things, and there's some other stuff in some of the other books that were left out. And then Martin Luther's like, oh, hey, well, we're going to go with the Jews on the Old Testament. However, again, the Jews determined this after the Christians were taking over. I think I have a video on this in terms of the books of the Bible. Maybe I can explain it better there because I can't go on and on about it. But it's quite a story about the Bible and how it was made and stuff. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Let's see. Yes, everyone should be saying the Rosary. Whoa, okay. Let's just hold on here. Who is your confirmation saint? It's Saint Anne, Mary's mom. How do I see other denominations? Well, I see them as people who love God a lot, love Jesus a lot, and I just feel very bad for them that they don't have the fullness of truth. And so I think it's oh my goodness. Sorry, I just saw the deleted there. Thank you, Haley, for grabbing that fast. Unfortunately, the name still shows. But anyway, I have a lot of love for Protestant brothers and sisters. I just think that it's really a mystery when there's so much evidence for Catholicism. There's Eucharistic miracles, there's church fathers, there's really so much evidence that if someone really wanted to search for truth, they should end up in Rome, right? Like all roads lead to Rome. But yet there's certain souls that stop. Even C.S. Lewis stopped at Anglicanism. I never can say that right. And so it's just, you just have to thank God that you are Catholic and that those scales have fully been removed and will continue, and pray that they continue to be removed. Because a lot of people, it's either sin stops them from converting because they don't want to submit. There's a huge issue with authority, which is really interesting. But authority really is, technically it's all heresy that conflicts with anything that conflicts with the Roman Catholic Church. Is missing out on true presence. They're missing out on actual grace through the sacraments, through sacramental grace. They're missing out on the cloud of witnesses of brothers and sisters in Christ. They're missing out on all the beautiful devotions and the Marian apparitions and having Mother Mary as their mother. It just, all those things just make me sad. And that's why I do videos sometimes specifically for Protestants, is because I just want them to come home. I have such a heart for them. And so far I haven't been able to get a single person I know that's Protestant to come home in real life, but that's okay. All right, I'm reading through the comments really fast to see. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pass through all these bad things. Wow, Paula, that's really neat about the real things. So Martin Luther, why did he break away? He was very troubled And there was corruption in the church at the time. I think was that when there was 3 popes, like vying for it? There was a lot of problems. But see, they call it the Reformation, but really it was he decided to reject the church. But he was very influenced, I think, by this idea of God being just a really terrible, like just a really vengeful, terrible God. That was the heresy of Jansenism, I think, was influencing him, if I'm not mistaken. And so you have saints like St. Francis de Sales, I think it was St. Teresa of Avila, and some others of the Reformation that they worked towards correcting errors. But Martin Luther, unfortunately, went the other way. And what started as a debate turned into a full breakaway from the church and from truth. And then all the things that happened after. There is a really, really amazing. Oh, by the way, when I do this, I'm laughing because sometimes I just do this when I talk. And someone the other day accused me of that being supposedly the symbol for 666. And I was laughing. I'm like, Ryan, you got to read this comment. So if I do that, I'm just talking with my hands, which I don't know why I do, but I do. But what was I going to say? Oh, so it's called Divine Mercy. It's on Formed, and there's a series about Divine Mercy, and it goes through all of these the Reformation and Martin Luther a bit and things like that. So it would be worth watching. I did hear, what did I hear? I heard a really good priest the other day talking about how while Martin Luther is fascinating, and you could, know what? It was Dr. David Anders on Call to Communion. Someone was asking about Luther. And so he had some good books to recommend, but he was like, however, we only get one life. And so while it might be fascinating to study Martin Luther a bit, if we don't have a good foundation in our catechesis, if we haven't read the catechism, if we don't know how to defend our faith, if we don't know how to evangelize, if we don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, like that's where energy should be going. And it shouldn't be studying someone who is, I don't want to say a lost soul, but a very, very troubled soul. It's much better to know your faith well so that you can be part of the solution rather than studying who is the problem, if that makes sense. Let's see, I'm gonna keep going here. I'm gonna read some more comments. Right. Yeah, Haley was talking about how the saints and councils, ecumenical, I'm not saying that right. Right. And so, yes, or Erickson, sorry. We want everybody to come into the faith. That's very true. Let's see. No super chat. What is super chat? Do I have to turn it on? I don't know what super chat is. Okay. Oh, Google account's talking about Martin Luther saying it's better to die Catholic than Lutheran. Said by him to his mother on her deathbed. He got her last rites. Yeah, Martin Luther was just really troubled. And it's really unfortunate because people who see Luther as the solution, I don't know if they've ever studied his true words because, okay, how do I turn on super chat? I can insert an ad. You guys want to give me money? That's kind of weird. I mean, you can give me money through Patreon. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do, you can't anymore. Oh, so I need to turn on super chat next time I do this. All right. But I think you can go to Patreon. I mean, the reason I started Patreon is because someone wanted to just donate. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to say no. I put it back into my channel mostly anyway, or it blesses my family with, I don't know, something. The infant Jesus of Prague. No, I'm not familiar with that devotion, but I do have a medal of the infant of Prague, and I'm gonna have to change the thumbnail for this talk because I thought it was gonna be about Ryan coming home, but you guys just want to talk about Holy Week, which is awesome. Yeah, I do have a Patreon. I have a Patreon, so it's just what Laura likes. And when I am on schedule, I give people access for $1 or more a month. I give people access to to the newest video a day early with no ads on Patreon. Because like I was talking about crowdfunding, like, you know, it's just, all it takes is $1 from everybody. A medal that was taken around by Relevant Radios. I think it was Drew Mariani. And he went to all these different places and then touched the medal to it. So okay, we're gonna get back to talking about Ryan now. So funny. Let's see here. So okay, I guess so, right? Okay, so how's the transition being? So Anna, are you military? I feel like only a military person would ask about transitions coming home. So it's been good. It's funny because I told myself I'm reading Fascinating Womanhood, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be this awesome wife, and I'm working with Kat, so my house is all beautiful and clean, and I have all these awesome, routines in place. And I'm like, he's gonna come home and he's gonna see how wonderful I am. And I'm doing a 54-day rosary for meekness, so I'm not yelling at the kids anymore. And so he gets home and it's immediately like, it was just like, it's like you think you're doing good, and then your spouse comes home, and it's like they see who you really are, even though you might see yourself as different. Anyway, so we've had a couple of good talks, but yeah, it's been really wonderful. But I just, I didn't think I was going in with expectations. And then the minute he gets home and the first time he doesn't say something in like the sweetest voice ever, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're so mean, And so it's just, oh my gosh, it's fun being married again. But it's funny because it's easy to judge other people's marriages, even if you're trying not to be judgmental. And then your spouse comes home and you're like, oh yeah, this is what marriage is. It's like an everyday, it's an everyday journey towards holiness. So I feel like God has taken the big cross of being by myself away, and he carried me. So everyone kept saying, why aren't you crying more? Why aren't you messed up? I'm like, Jesus is carrying me right now. Like, I couldn't do this alone, but I'm not sad. I'm joyful every day. Like, even through trials, like I was pretty joyful most of the 9 months. And, but now it's like, you change out one cross for another, and God's like, hey, now I'm going to whittle you down. Like, now we're going to show you how much pride is still left in your soul. And you talk a big talk, Laura, but you still got some work to do. So, yeah, it's been good. Okay. So for meekness, what I'm doing, okay, and this is my next sit down video that I'm going to film, is how to do a 54-day rosary novena. And I am almost done. I have 9 days left of the one for meekness. But when you do a 54-day rosary novena, I'm going to talk about like how it started and how to do it. And then I'm actually coming out with videos that are literally like, you don't see me at all, but you hear me, and it has pictures and it has some words, and it's just a rosary, like straight through. Like, you could turn it on, just pray with me, and there's no live interaction. There's no like pauses and weird things. It's just a very crisp, clean, like pray with me rosary recording with the best thing I can do. And so Heather over at A Catholic Mom's Life has the first 27 days are in petition. And so she actually has a video where she explains it, prays the joyful mysteries. She does the luminous. I don't do luminous with it because it screws up. Excuse me, I shouldn't say that. It messes up the flow of the novena, because it's 3 novenas, which are not in petition, and then 3 in Thanksgiving. I'm recording the Thanksgiving side because Heather didn't. And so I'm like, well, this is a nice way to do it. So I'm working on it. Some spiritual warfare is going on. I do not want to sit down at my computer and edit this thing. And so I'm trying really hard to do it for you guys, to get it out there. And then, but that is what I'm doing for meekness. And so in the end of the prayer, and I've done a bunch of live ones, so you can go back and watch, but there's a spot at the end after your spiritual communion where you ask for either the thing that you're asking for, the intention. And I prayed one for my sister's conversion, and that hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean that it's never going to happen, because the timing, obviously, it's God's timing, not our timing. This one, the minute I started praying it, I started becoming more meek. And it was beautiful. Like, and it's not meek like this little timid meek, but it's meek like I have realized I can now catch myself before I lose my temper. It's like God gives me this pause to make an actual decision before I respond to my kids or my husband. And it is the most beautiful blessing I've ever received, is that pause. So I can't say anything bad about a 54-day Rosary Novena. I think it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. Mary specifically gave it to somebody, laid it out, and there is miracle story after miracle story. You do have to pray every single day for 54 days. You cannot miss a rosary, which is why it's nice having the recording, because if it gets to be like 10:30 at night and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't prayed my rosary, at least if you hit the recording, you can kind of like, I don't know, sometimes I knit and pray it so that like I'm like keeping myself awake. Because you really do have to do, sorry, I'm not flipping you off, I was adjusting my glasses. But yes, so that's how it works. But that's what I'm doing. Thank you. Is it Michael Jose Alta, or is it McCall? I'm saying it's Michael. I'm really bad at pronunciation, you guys. Yes, 22 vanilla latte. My kids are so incredibly happy. And it is, I have a lot more time on my hands. Like, I don't know what time it is. It's actually almost time for me to go pray my chaplet. So I'm going to have to get off here in a minute. We've been on for an hour and 2 minutes. Just so, you guys have the hardest names. So I'm going to call you Weber, A. Weber. You're talking about time, like failing with your husband. So a lot of times that comes from what I have found is it's like we're so keyed up on what we're feeling that we can't be charitable towards somebody else. And that's what was happening with me with my kids. It's like, I want your room to be clean and you don't seem to care. And I'm overwhelmed by how many toys you have, which is not your fault. It's my fault, but I'm going to take it out on you because you're not keeping your toys clean, whatever it is, right? And so with a spouse, it could be like, I said this really nicely to you and you responded kind of coarsely. And so now I'm going to respond coarsely. I don't know. So it's like, we really just have to check ourselves. And I have to plug that show with The Chosen again, because when you watch that show and you watch, especially the episode about Jesus and the children, you watch how he interacts with the kids. That's how we are supposed to be. Like, that's what we're supposed to be emulating, is how Jesus interacts with other people. I am meek and humble of heart, right? That is our goal. And so the more we are able to really personify Jesus and to really live like Jesus and to really just completely humble ourselves, so we don't deserve to be talked to a certain way. We don't deserve to be treated a certain way. We just are, and that's enough. And we are supposed to just pour out love. And if we can get there, then we don't interact with our family or friends in a less perfect way. That's awesome, Anna, that you're doing a 54-day Rosary Novena. I'm glad it's been a real blessing. Even the one for my sister, that was for her conversion, she hasn't done it. I mean, she hasn't converted, but I don't know what she's working on her heart. But I was telling someone about it, and they're like, every 54-day Rosary Novena I do, even if the intention doesn't seem to be overtly answered, when I want it to be, the Novena keep, I'm going to go back a little bit and see. Paula's asking if I break up a rosary. Yes. So you can break up a rosary by decades. I think it was, how do we say his name now? Pope Emeritus Benedict. I don't know how to, what his official title is. But Pope Benedict, right, said he couldn't do more than like 2 decades at a time. Funny guy. So you can break up the 5 decades over the course of the day. I usually don't, because really it takes about 25 minutes. Sometimes I'll break it in half, I guess, if I really need to. But typically I just pray it, but you could totally do that. And it would still be efficacious. I have heard of people who want to pray like the whole 150 rosaries. I mean, the whole rosary, the joyful, sorrowful, glorious, over the course of one day. And so they break up those like over the course of the day. And you can totally do that as well if you want. But I don't think you're talking about that. I think you're just talking about breaking up the decades. And you can, yep, I've done it before, and you can do it. And I think it's it's just as fulfilling because it's just that it's only as fulfilling as you make it. So if you're driving and praying the rosary and at the same time you're like yelling at somebody for cutting you off, then it's not very efficacious. And you're probably not like really thinking through meditating on the mysteries. So it's just as efficacious as you make it. But remember that when you pray the rosary, you know, Mother Mary is holding your hand and she's holding Jesus' hand and she's going like this with both of your hands. So when we remember that, when we pray the rosary, we should really, there is a way to get to a place with the rosary where you really do want to pray it, that you crave. Yeah, I mean, the luminous mysteries are fine. And I mean, all of the literature surrounding Saint John Paul II, however you say it, he was a really holy soul. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with the luminous mysteries. I just think it just depends on how traditional you want to go. I'm going to have to go here. I'm going to finish scrolling and then I'm going to go because my chest is getting tight. I'm getting allergies. I need to go take some medicine. Saint Zelly said it was necessary to, break up the rosary? Was she Saint Teresa's mom? Oh, Sonia, I'm talking about The Chosen. So you can get the app. I'll show you guys what it looks like. You can get the app and then you can cast it onto your TV. So we're actually going to watch that pretty soon here. I need to get off because I told Brian it'd be an hour. And it's been longer than an hour, but you can see that. So it's just The Chosen. It says either showing how many people have like viewed it. 14 million people. First episode is about Mary Magdalene. Second episode is about Peter, mostly, and Andrew. And then the third episode is about the children. And there's Jesus. There he is. You just fall in love with him. And then the fourth episode is about him calling Peter. So good. And then we haven't watched the fifth one yet. This is the wedding gift. So we're going to see Mary. And this is the guy who plays Matthew. It's really interesting. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Okay. The Chosen. I'm going to drop it. And like I said, you can just get an app. And it's like Vid Angel or something is the person who handles it. But it looks like, so there's 8 episodes. So like I'm at the wedding gift and then the indescribable compassion, invitations, and then I am he. And it says we need about $7.7 million left to get to back season 2. So, Garabandal, you were like I keep hearing this. I'm going to write it down. I keep hearing about this movie. Is this like a recent release? People keep asking me about it. All right. Yeah. Hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for commenting and just chatting with me. And subscribe if you haven't already. And I will do my best probably later tonight to go back into the description and add links and change the picture, like the thumbnail to, I don't know, like Holy Week and more or something. But anyway, you guys, God bless. I'll talk to you soon. And I'm going to work on that 54-day Rosary Novena video as well as those prayer videos. So that's what's coming up. And at some point, I'm hoping to get Ryan on camera, but he's not sure about it. So I'll talk to you guys later. Love you all. Bye.